Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction that's happening in Taurus on April 20th, 2024. This is arguably the biggest transit of the year and it's coming up. You're probably actually already kind of getting an inkling as to what's going to happen. Now, this conjunction is happening at 21 degrees Taurus. So if you have anything around 18 to 24 degrees of really anything in your chart, it's going to be hitting it in some way. But really, what we're looking for is 18 to 24 degrees of Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So obviously, if you have something at 21, it's going to be hitting it directly. So that's definitely going to be very interesting for you, and you will feel it in some way. Now, I want to emphasize something that I haven't heard enough people, in my opinion, enough people talking about, that this is a long-term transit. This is something that we're looking for 13 to 14 years of this cycle, right? This is how often Jupiter and Uranus get together. Now, they don't come together in the same sign for about 84 years. So the Jupiter Uranus conjunction in Taurus is really like a once in a lifetime sort of thing, but we see them come together about every 14 years. Now, that being said, that's quite a long time. So we're beginning a new journey, one that we last had in Aries and Pisces. It was kind of a weird one, but that was in 2010 and 2011. So that started off a journey in your Aries and Pisces house. Like I said, that one was kind of weird because it was right on the cusp. And now we're starting this new journey in Taurus. So before we get started and talking about kind of what this really means for everybody and going through sign by sign, I want to give a breakdown of what each of these parts represent. So we're going to talk about what Jupiter represents, what Uranus represents, and what Taurus represents. And I wrote them down so I don't forget any of them. So Jupiter rules expansion, our beliefs and belief systems, including religion, mentors, our relationship with a father or father figure, long distance and foreign travel, growth, higher education, higher principles, and something like the law. Jupiter has an inclination towards higher culture, higher aspirations, arts, sciences, philosophy. This is the higher mind. Jupiter rules the higher mind. It's about opening to other cultures, broadening perspectives, optimism, joviality, having a breadth of experience, abundance, sometimes to an excess. Now, Uranus was discovered in 1781, and this planet represents innovation, reform, revolution, technology, the internet, electricity, electronics, our nervous system, breakthroughs, sudden surprises, unpredictability, rebellion, and being progressive. It also rules esoteric knowledges like astrology and also sciences like astronomy. It's a very individualistic energy, rebellious. It's like the makings of a rebel. Now, let's talk about the sign of Taurus. So, Taurus is the second sign in the zodiac. It rules over the second house. It's a fixed earth sign, very feminine, it's very slow. It's really about comfort and security in a material sense, about love and abundance, but in a earthy way, right? So it's not about having excess, it's about appreciating what they do have. Taurus is also one of the fixed signs. So those are the signs that are being most affected by this transit. And the interesting thing is Taurus is very slow. So it kind of goes, it's very antithetical to the Jupiter Uranus conjunction as an archetype, because Jupiter is like growth, expansion in this like really big way. And Uranus is breakthroughs, breakdowns. It's a very rebellious sort of energy. And Taurus is not like that at all. The abundance of Taurus is a earthy abundance. It's not this like growth and learning more. They very much like to stick to what they know. They don't love change. Most fixed signs don't. And Taurus likes to build something slowly. So that's why I think this Jupiter Uranus conjunction is going to be a little bit of a slower situation, because Taurus isn't, like I said, it's not a fast sign. It's not a very movable sign. And so this is great for fixed signs, right? Like Taurus, they can be extremely committed to whomever or whatever they're doing, but they can also be rigid and stubborn at times, right? Because they're immovable. I have Taurus in my chart. I actually have a very fixed chart, so I understand this very well. And the second house has a lot to do with our values. So, like our personal values, how we value things in life. So, like, for example, I'm a Leo rising. And so I've got Virgo on my second house, which means that when it comes to my values and how I spend money, I tend to be very practical and detail oriented about it. I'm also very sustainably minded and like to think, because Virgo is an earth sign. And so I really like to think, how is my purchase impacting the rest of the world? Is this something I actually really need? And now there's a lot of other things in my chart that make it so that I'm not like the most frugal and practical person in the world, but that's kind of my mindset about it, right? Whereas someone who has like Cancer rising and has Leo on the second house cusp would like things that are more extravagant, would really like those more pricey items that have a certain kind of quality to them. But it may not be sustainable. It just might be a brand name or something that's luxurious and elegant. And of course, planets and aspects make a difference to this too. So if you got something else sitting in that second house, but generally that's kind of how the values kind of can come up when we're talking about Taurus. So when we put all of those together, we get this really wide arc of growth, expansion, and innovation in the material sense, or how we perceive material things in our world. And this can actually be a material change, since Taurus is a very physical sign, or it could be our perceived sense of values around money, around resources, around property, and things like that. So, like I said, this is a really wide arc. And one of the books I'll talk about in a second is this book, Cosmos and Psyche by Richard Tarnas. Highly recommend. He's awesome. But in it, he goes really in depth and showcases the Jupiter Uranus cycles, as well as many other cycles of the outer planets that go back in history and shows how they can kind of affect the collective at large. And so we see that it has certain tendencies to look a certain way, like all of those things that I just said combined, but they can manifest in a lot of different ways. And so that's why I'm going to be going through every rising sign, because I want you guys to understand what area of life this is happening in. And the cool thing is that this isn't like coming out of nowhere. Uranus has been in your sign, in your house of Taurus, for 6 years now, since 2018, and Jupiter joined in May of 2023. So, what is being brought up for you in these opportunities, this wide arc of growth, expansion, innovation, newness, higher culture, higher sciences, higher developments, higher belief systems, and the breakdowns of certain things and breakthroughs of other things, and rebellion, revolution, is really is already something that's been kind of happening in a certain house of yours, in a certain area of your life. And it's coming together now in an exact conjunction to start this new 13, 14-year cycle, for it to really manifest into something tangible, right? In Taurus. So, whatever house you have Taurus in, Uranus has already been doing some work in there. And you already know this part of your life has been changing or really being asked to change. And then Jupiter went in there last year in 2023 and just intensified this feeling of like something new is going to come, something bigger, something that we will appreciate in a different way. And so when they actually come together, that's going to be a really cool moment. I want to also say this is a generally positive transit. And I don't love using binary terms like that, because I don't really believe there's a good and bad, which is what I'm trying to say, is that this is a positive transit, but it may give us what we need and not what we want, right? And so we may perceive it as being negative because it's not what we want. But when we have a planet like Jupiter in play, and Uranus it's not a malefic planet. So, and Jupiter is definitely not a malefic. It's the biggest benefic planet. So when they come together, it's like, because of Uranus's tendency to break certain things down, it may be that if there's been something in that house of Taurus that's been asking you to change for a really long time that you haven't been, this is going to be kind of a jolt to make any unstable foundations kind of start crumbling at a faster rate for you. And I say that for you, right? It's not to you, it's for you. And so if this is coming up in a way that doesn't feel so positive, especially around, the week before and the weeks after April 20th, know that it's because it's preparing something better for you. Like, really, I mean, Jupiter is the planet of faith, the universe, right? It rules the 12th house of faith. And so have faith, take on some of that Jupiterian qualities, that whatever is going on right now is really asking you to grow into something that's more abundant and aligned for you. And one of the things I mentioned in the very beginning was that I I think that sometimes we think something crazy is going to happen like on that transit, and when we're looking at like different planets that take a little bit longer, especially Uranus, but also Jupiter, and how they're 14-year cycles, it may not look like that. Now, one thing that I find really interesting is that Taurus rules money and resources, and we are having the Bitcoin halving on or around April 19th or 20th. So I think that's something that is like actually really interesting because it's happening right at the time of the conjunction. And so things like that definitely can happen where it's like, depending on what happens during that time, some people may come into a lot of money because of their investments. And if this is happening in one of your money houses, which I'll talk about, when I do the sign by sign, then that could definitely be you. And we don't really know what's going to happen, but I just thought that was really interesting that it was happening on that day. But generally, with these cycles, it's more of a seed that's being planted. It's an inkling that something's going to happen, but it also could be an opportunity or something that falls into your lap very close to that date. But we have to realize, even if that happens, it's still the beginning of this 13, 14-year journey. I mean, it's 13 years because it's going to happen in 2037 in Cancer next time. So it's not like it's beginning and ending by May of 2024. Like, this is like a cycle that we're going through. That's the part that I feel like I haven't really heard a lot of. I definitely have heard some astrologers talking about it, but I don't want everyone to be misled and to just think that this is something that just happens fast and then it's over. It's a little bit deeper than that. So also, like I said earlier, because Taurus is such a slow sign, it really even emphasizes that more. I wanted to read something that Richard Tarnas wrote in here because it is kind of confirming how I feel about this. Okay, well, I can't. He said the most consistent pattern I observed was the close coincidence of these Jupiter-Uranus alignment periods with the opening months of a longer term process, as if the particular archetype impulse associated with the cycle acted as a sudden initiatory catalyst for such phenomena. Jupiter's principle of expansion and growth, supporting the Promethean or Uranian impulse of new beginnings. And that perfectly encapsulates how I feel about this in as a whole. The other thing I want to point out is that Mercury is still retrograde until April 25th. So especially for people who are ruled by Mercury, so Gemini, Virgo, Sun, and Rising, we definitely might, especially for those first few days, there might be some sense of like, pushback, right? Like that we can't, even if we get some insight, it's not really quite time to move forward yet. We just need to wait at least like a week, I mean, it's not that long of a time. Before we really, it's still more of a reflective time period for everybody when Mercury's retrograde. So it's like, if you get that jolt, if you get that idea, let's not be impulsive, because Taurus is not impulsive, right? Like, that's Aries. Taurus is not impulsive at all. So instead, we want to just let it bask. We want to bask in it. We really want to get a feel for what this jolt could mean. And it could feel a little turbulent. So like taking time to be in your own presence and being in nature and doing all these things, like whatever you need to do in order not to feel so impulsive would be a really good thing to do, especially towards the end of April. April's a crazy month this year. Like there's just a lot that's happening this year, but it's also, I don't know, adventurous. I love myself a good adventure. So let's get into the sign by sign. I want to say, just a disclaimer, I will always say that your rising sign will feel the most accurate for you. If you don't know your rising sign, definitely look at your sun sign. I look at both. I put more precedence on my rising sign, but I will say that I do resonate with my sun sign. I notice that it's a more subtle influence. It's kind of like the undercurrent of the soul evolution, because your sun is like your soul's journey, it's your personality, your ego. And then your rising sign is how you're experiencing the changes day to day, because when you put that sign on your ascendant, it becomes your body and it sets up your whole chart. So it's how you physically are experiencing your life. So if you don't know your rising sign, I think your sun sign will still definitely help, but I will always read both and see which one resonates. All right, so Aries, sun and rising, this is happening in your second house of value, income, finances, everything that Taurus represents. So for you, this is something that can actually look like increase in income, getting more money, increasing values in some ways, attaining more properties. This is the one that's going to come about most literally for you. But one of the things that's interesting is that, like I said, this house rules your values as well. So the abundance can be perceived abundance, in that it's not so much about receiving money, which I do think that something is going to be growing in that part of your life over the next 14 years. I do. But even before that happens, maybe there's a sense of internally feeling abundant. And we know that as below, as above, and as above, as below. So when we start feeling the feelings of abundance and saying, you know what, your values are changing and you're seeing that what you have is amazing and that you have abundance in your life, what happens is you start attracting that energy into your life. So it could be either you receive money first and that's it, or you have to kind of have this internal sense of abundance and this feeling that Jupiter and Uranus bring to you. And that then starts this journey of increasing your income, because the second house is your money. So it generally is earned income. Jupiter also rules your 12th and 9th house. So there can be some sort of like foreign travel, long distance travel around this time that would be beneficial. Maybe that's kind of helping you gain some more money. Regardless, this is just seems like a really positive transit for you. Now, around the same time, Mars and Saturn are together in Pisces and they're in your 12th house. So I don't know if this is the easiest time for a lot of Aries and Aries risings right now, because Saturn and Mars in the 12th house can feel restricting and restless, which is why I think it's important to know that don't get discouraged if nothing crazy happens to you 2 weeks after April 20th. Because Mars and Saturn being in the house, and Saturn's going to be there till 2025, there is some sort of restructuring that's happening in your psyche, and that's just part of the cycle as well. Pluto also just recently moved into your 11th house, starting a 20-year cycle until 2044, transforming the groups that you're in, your hopes, your desires, your friendships, your allies. Maybe some sort of internet presence is changing for you. And this is a very long-term thing, but it's kind of coinciding with this Jupiter and Uranus cycle. So I could see that maybe you're starting to work on the internet. Maybe that's where your increase in income is coming from, is because you're utilizing your networks, you're utilizing social groups and the internet, which is 11th house, or astrology, to kind of, or other esoteric knowledges, to increase your income. And also, I want to finish off by saying that during this time until 2025, we are having eclipses in your sign and Libra, and the North Node is in your sign. So yeah, I just feel like with all that happening, I feel like a lot of you guys are really moving towards your own personal destiny during this time. And that somehow is how you're going to be changing the 12th house. I have a very specific, this is obviously very specific, so it's not going to be for everybody, but I can just see so many Aries and Aries rising increasing their online presence in some way, and that's increasing their income, because putting yourself first house, North Node being there, out there into the world, and then making alliances and then increasing your income. Like that's a really specific thing that I'm seeing. All right, Taurus and Taurus Sun and Taurus Rising. This conjunction is all about you. If you're a Taurus rising, especially, this is happening in your first house of self. Like there can be so many iterations of this because you are literally, there's some sort of breakthrough and expansion, innovation in the way that you show up in the world, right? And if you're a Taurus sun, I definitely feel this for you as well. You guys are having Taurus sun and Taurus rising. There's Pluto's going through your 10th house right now. And I feel like especially for Taurus suns, because the sun has a little bit more to do with career than the rising does, I really feel like this new sense of self is related to career, but I also feel this definitely for Taurus risings. Pluto being in your 10th house just started let's just say 2024. It started 2024. It's going to last till 2044. So this is a really long cycle that we're going through, that Taurus sun and rising are changing their career, changing their legacy, their public presence, how they show up in the world, their reputation. This conjunction happening in you, in your sign of self, is something that is really asking for something new to happen in you in order for your career to transform, your reputation to transform. Now, Jupiter rules your 11th and 6th house. So this is kind of, to me, maybe there's some changes you're making in your daily habits. Maybe there is, you're increasing your online presence. And that is something that is asking you to change. And therefore, that's what's going to change your career, if that makes sense. Because to me, it's like, since Jupiter rules your 11th and 6th house and it's conjuncting with Uranus, that means something's changing in those 11th and 6th house. So different habits, new diet, maybe, starting a YouTube channel, starting some sort of podcast, something, having some sort of Instagram presence or something. And in that is going to give you a challenge to be something different, to have this sense of abundance in yourself. And if you're a Taurus rising, especially, I could see this as you really changing the way that you actually physically look. There could be changes in hairstyle, changes in the way that you dress, changes in the way that you literally are physically showing up in the world. During this time, interestingly enough, Saturn and Mars are in your 11th house. And Saturn's going to be there until 2025. So there's a restructuring and sometimes feeling a limiting feeling happening in that 11th house of hopes, desires, dreams, networks, social networks, allies, friend groups. But for me, even though when Saturn brings limitations, it's also a restructuring energy, and it's a long-term energy. So changes that you make there are going to be lasting a long time. All of this that I'm talking about too is going to change the way that you relate to other people. So this conjunction is happening in your first house, but this opposing your 7th house. And those are both angular houses. So this is really big for you, obviously, right? It's happening in your sign. And how you're showing up in the world could be affecting how you relate to other people in your one-on-one relationships, if you work one-on-one in your business, with your business partner, things like that, that could be changing because you're changing the way that you show up. And this new cycle that's going to happen, I'm really excited to see where this takes you, Taurus. So Gemini sun and Gemini rising, this conjunction is happening in your 12th house, the 12th house of healing, the subconscious, of spirituality. This is interesting because Uranus has been in this house since 2018, and Uranus in the 12th house is definitely very electrifying in your subconscious. So you may have been going through these very abrupt endings in your life, or breakthroughs that you're having, like these like aha light bulb moments that can be so beautiful, but that because this is the 12th house, it really is an end of a cycle. And so a lot of endings may have been happening. And Jupiter coming in May of 2023 only intensified this, right? So it's really beautiful on one hand because you've got such a benefic situation, conjunction, cycle starting in your 12th house. And the 12th house rules the subconscious. And if we think about the subconscious ruling about 95 to 99% of our waking reality and our sleeping reality too, then we can understand how important this can be. Now, especially for Gemini risings, like this could be, you may be like the luckiest people. And I know maybe some people wouldn't agree with that, but because I think that you can have this kind of like aha moment that can really shatter some limiting beliefs that you have, right? So let's look at what Jupiter represents in your chart. It's your 7th and 10th house. So maybe you have a lot of limiting beliefs around your career and your relationships. And those are angular houses. So they're really, really important. And maybe this Jupiter Uranus conjunction is a beginning of a new cycle for you that gives you some sort of breakthrough or sense of abundance so that you can start moving forward with a different direction in your career and in your relationships, or one of the other. I think it's going to be both because the 12th house has such a wide arc when it comes to those limiting beliefs in our subconscious. Jupiter transiting the 12th house can cause crazy dreams. That's number one. I'm a Gemini sun, and I've definitely had crazy dreams the last year. But one of the other things it can definitely create is it's like a guardian angel. So just really learning to trust that whatever breakthroughs, breakdowns that happen in your life right now, know that having that Jupiter in your 12th house is like an extra layer of support than like any other placement. It's really like literally a guardian angel making sure that you're being divinely protected and divinely guided to what you are supposed to be doing in this life. It's just that in order for this to happen, there may have to be a lot of endings, solitude, breakdowns so that you can start again, right? Because Uranus is going into Gemini in 2025. Jupiter is going into Gemini in May of 2024. So in order for you to begin these other new, really amazing cycles, Jupiter and Uranus coming together in your 12th house is really asking for you to release and get rid of some of these limiting beliefs that you have. Now, this house is also opposite to your 6th house. So maybe in order for you to change these limiting beliefs, you have to change something in your daily life, maybe your habits, your job, your diet, or it could be that a change in those aspects of your life, just making small menial changes in your life, like waking up at a certain time or eating healthier or exercising more, will be the catalyst to trigger something in your subconscious that will kind of allow you to break free from a cycle that hasn't been serving you. And once again, to just come back to the career, it's like Saturn and Mars just started a cycle like a week ago on April 10th, I believe, in your house of career. So once again, it's really reiterating. I think this for a lot of Gemini and Gemini risings has a lot to do with your career, actually, even though this conjunction is happening in your 12th house. It's kind of happening in your 12th house, but pointing you to your life direction, your reputation, your public presence, and how that is asking to be changed in a different way. Cancer and Cancer rising. This conjunction is happening in your 11th house, of friendships, networks, allies, social groups, your hopes, desires, dreams, technology, the future. What I really see this as for a lot of Cancers and Cancer rising, because Jupiter rules your 6th house, is, and in this day and age, a lot of our social networks are people that we work with, right? Like that's just kind of how it works out. So, especially as you get older. And so I can really see this as you changing a job and therefore being introduced to a much more like-minded group of people, networks, social groups. I see a lot of Cancer and Cancer risings just getting into a new era of friendship, finding maybe groups that resonate. especially because it rules your sixth house, maybe you're finding a group of friends who are more aligned in the way that you want to be in the world. So like maybe like health wise, right? So maybe you're joining an activity club, or a club that is for vegans, or a club that has something to do with health and wellness, like doing yoga. Another thing that I want to mention is that Pluto is currently going through your eighth house. Now, I've had this transit go through from my sun, and so it was a little bit more subtle, but this is when I really started getting into astrology and healing. This is the eighth house is the house of transformation, of intimacy, the occult, shared finances. So I can see that this Jupiter Uranus conjunction happening in your 11th house is somehow adding to this change that's going on for you in how you see how you are in relationships and in intimacy, how you view shared finances. Maybe you're getting more interested in the occult. And that's a 20-year transit that's happening from 2024 to 2044. So both of these transits are kind of longer ones, but I can definitely see how they're kind of working together so that you can have, it's almost like maybe these new friends and social groups will enhance your ability to be intimate, to enhance your ability to transform into something that is so much more abundant for you. Leo sun and Leo rising, this conjunction is happening in your 10th house of career, long term goals, status, reputation, legacy, public presence. Um, this is a big one for Leos. Now, the first thing I have to say is that anytime that we're looking at a Taurus transit, it's going to be squaring your Leo placement, right? So inherently, there's a little bit of tension. And we've got, I say we because I am a Leo rising at 21 degrees. So we'll see how this goes. But we've got Mars and Saturn in our eighth house right now, and Saturn's going to be there until 2025. So there is this sense of heaviness when Saturn's in that house. But what so there's this like heaviness and the struggle, but this conjunction is happening in the 10th house, right? So this is asking something really big of us. And it's no wonder that there's a sense of a struggle, right? Because it's squared to our sign. So it's a struggle because there needs to be growth in some way. So if you're feeling like whatever, I actually think squares are interesting because they kind of hit you in the face. Like you can't, like if you're trying to, if there's a trine, it doesn't quite hit you as hard, right? It's very easy to almost pass it by. But when a transit is squaring your sign, it's right there in your face, and there may be some struggle, but even more growth. And we've got Jupiter involved. It's the greatest benefic. Uranus is not a malefic sign, is not a malefic planet either. So this actually like just looks really amazing for Leos in the next 14 years. Like this is going to be really changing. And Pluto's moving through our seventh house from 2024 to 2044, right? So this is transforming our relationships. So what I see for a lot of Leos is moving into careers that are using one-to-one situations or having to involve other people. So this Jupiter Uranus conjunction happening in the 10th house and starting this 14-year cycle in our 10th house, I think that if we're not already working one-on-one with people, in some way we are going to be doing that, or we're going to be going into business, right? Because the 7th house is business partners, contracts. I also think that during this time, for the Jupiter Uranus conjunction, it's opposing our 4th house. So maybe you're moving somewhere in order to change your life direction. Maybe you're redecorating your house. Maybe you're, I definitely see some sort of relocation that is going to have to do with our reputation, our direction in life. So we've got a lot of angular houses being lit up right now, right? Like the 4th house isn't being lit up directly, but the Pluto in the 7th house, Jupiter, Uranus in the 10th house, those are really big things that are happening for a lot of Leos over the next 14 to 20 years. Is between 18 and 24 degrees of Taurus as a Leo rising. I mean, a change in career and life direction is just guaranteed. Like, it doesn't have to happen in April, but it's happening. Like, it's happening. Something needs to change. If you don't have a career, if you're a stay at home mom, something within that is changing drastically. The way that the public perceives you is changing drastically. So maybe you are a very dedicated career woman right now and you're going to have a child and become a stay at home mom. And that's how the public is going to perceive you as being different. The legacy that you're leaving is different. So it really doesn't have to be about career. That's just the easiest and most common way that it shows up. And it's not your job, it's your whole career, right? So, like, you can be a doctor and work in an emergency room, urgent care, or have your own practice, and those are your jobs. But the whole career field of being a doctor is what is like being asked to be changed right now, or starting a new direction. Jupiter rules our fifth and eighth house. So I could definitely see this new change in direction having to do with some sort of creativity, something you're really actually passionate about, maybe some sort of occult things like human design, astrology, um, spirituality in some sense, healing, transformation, maybe therapy, becoming a therapist, something like that, or just something that you're really, really passionate about, something to do with children, possibly. Yeah, I'm really excited to see how this all plays out for you guys. Let me know down below if any of this resonates. For Virgo and Virgo, for Virgo Sun and Virgo Rising, this conjunction is happening in your ninth house of beliefs, long distance travel, higher education, mentors, guides, therapists, pretty much everything I said in the beginning of the video, minus a few things because Jupiter rules this house of the ninth house. So this would be like a really great cycle to go back to school, to travel long distance, and know that if you do any of these things, it's going to bring you a really big sense of abundance, of some sort of higher understanding of life. You could find that long distance travel in general is just like really a positive outlet for you. But when I think of the ninth house, I really think of, above all, transforming your belief systems and expanding your cultural viewpoints. So when we talk about Jupiter and the ninth house and Sagittarius traveling, what Jupiter is really trying to do in this house or in Sagittarius is to constantly be expanding its understanding of the world through meeting different cultures, things that aren't normally in their scope of life. This looks really beautiful and kind of easier for you because you're a fellow earth sign. So this is trining. So you may not feel as that there's such a big struggle in this, but you may also, because it's so easy, kind of let some opportunities pass you by. So it's really important to be aware of how you can be expanding your perspective on the world, your belief systems, religion, law. Maybe you're, getting involved in law, going back to school to become a lawyer or something like that. But whatever it is, it's like trying to expand your worldview, your perspective. Now, Jupiter rules your seventh and fourth house, which are really important houses. So when I see Jupiter ruling these houses and being conjunct with Uranus, there could be a change in where you live. There could be a change in relationships. There could be a change. This could even just be like a remodeling of a house or a relationship. Like, it doesn't mean that you have to change and get out of relationships, but something is fundamentally changing. And everything that I just said before about acquiring new belief systems is what is kind of leading you into changing these areas of your life. And I also want to say that Pluto has just started a 20-year cycle until 2044 in your sixth house of health, daily routines, pets, illness, work. I just got done with this Pluto in the sixth house, and oh my God, it's so hard to say. Sixth house, and I definitely experienced all of the above: animals, loss of animals, illness, health. It really changed the trajectory of my life. It was difficult, but it was very, very, very necessary. So maybe whatever this Jupiter Uranus conjunction is bringing in abundance for you is going to inform how you feel about your health and wellness and diseases that you have. Maybe there's a new belief system about how you want to treat any sort of illness that you have. Let me know if this resonates down below, Virgos. So for Libra sun and Libra rising, this conjunction is happening in your 8th house of other people's money, investment, loans, inheritances, the occult, deep intimacy, healing, shared finances, transformation. Libras are being asked to step out of their comfort zone with this Jupiter Uranus conjunction in their 8th house. The 8th house is a deep house, right? This is a house of secrets, and it's like the 4th, 8th, and 12th house are houses that we don't really like to show to other people. And Libras are so fun and so airy and lighthearted, but Jupiter and Uranus are asking to kind of for you to delve into something deeper during this time because there's something really positive for you in that. One of the interesting things about this too is that if you listen to the first part of my video, I talked about how Bitcoin was being halved around the time of this conjunction. And so someone who has a Libra rising especially, but maybe some Libra suns too, is someone who could really benefit from that because the 8th house is the house of investments. It's about money that's not yours. So getting things like a bonus, like you didn't earn it, right? Like it's given to you, inheritances, money from your investments. So you could be one of those people that does make money from that situation. What's interesting right now too is that you've got the South Node going through your sign and the North Node going through your 7th house. So another iteration of this that I could see is that if you're in a committed partnership, because the 8th house rules other people's money, what could be happening is that at least until next year, something is changing in your partner's finances. And so that's bringing more abundance into your life in some way. But really, no matter what it is that somehow your unearned income, you're getting some sort of extra chunky money, like coming to you over this next 14 years, which sounds really great. But I will say that this is a more difficult house, right? So because of that, it may feel a little unsettling, and it's really asking you to grow in this part of you that you don't normally like to reside in unless you already have a bunch of planets in your 8th house as a Libra. At the same time, Pluto has started a 20-year transit through your 5th house of creativity, romance, passion, children, fertility, joy, self-expression. I feel like having the 5th and 8th house, I mean, number one, 5th house is also speculation and gain. So it just adds to my feeling that there's some sort of investments that are really coming through for you for the next 14 to 20 years because that Pluto is in there for 20 years. But I also see that something's changing about, I mean, you could be having children, you could become a grandparent, things like that. But I really see you changing what your dating life is like, going deeper into a lot of your hobbies and things that you're actually passionate about. So let me know how that resonates for you for my Libra sun and Libra rising. So for my Scorpio rising and suns, this conjunction is happening in your 7th house of one-to-one relationships, marriage, contracts, business partners, and just kind of how you relate to other people. This is like, to me, because it's opposing your sign, it really feels like to me that it's reflecting back to you how you're relating in relationships. Pluto is in your 4th house right now, and this is the deepest part of ourselves, and this is going to be a 20-year transit, right? So this just started pretty much this year, 2024, and the Jupiter-Uranus cycle started this year and is a 14-year cycle, and Pluto will be here till 2044. So what this is asking of you, number one, moving, very, very likely, like extremely likely. Yes, it's a very long time frame, but I definitely see moving for you, maybe moving and meeting a partner or moving to meet a partner or something like that. But what it's asking of you is like I said, you guys are no stranger to transformation, but at this depth of yourself, I have Pluto in the 4th house natally. So I understand it's like this almost like really learning to rely, and you guys deal with Pluto probably better than I do because I'm not well, I'm not a Pluto, I'm not a Scorpio rising, that's for sure. It's asking for you to change at your core, at your depths. And I think what this conjunction is doing is giving you an opportunity to do that through relationships, through your inner relational style, and learning more about yourself, about how you are in those relationships. And that's really causing you to kind of have to look at yourself. And because, see, when I think of Taurus and Scorpio, one of the things I think about is that the Taurus is very self-sufficient, and Scorpio is too, but they really want that deep intimacy. And when you've got Pluto moving through your fourth house, it's really saying that the only person who can support you and really guide you and really be there for the depths of everything is you. And that's something that this transit is going to show you over these 20 years. It's what it's showing me in my entire lifetime, you know? And so I think that somebody coming into your life, or you seeing how you act in relationships, is really going to be involved in this deep, deep transformation that you're going through. Jupiter rules your second and fifth house. So coming together with Uranus, this could be unexpected pregnancies. This could be, not wanting children and then wanting children, or wanting children and then deciding you don't want children. And the second house is your finance house. So finances could have something to do with this, or your values could be changing at this time. Maybe your values are changing in relationships, how you value partners. Or maybe you're infusing more romanticism and creativity in your relationships. So let me know if this resonates for you down below. So Sagittarius Sun and Sagittarius Rising, this conjunction is happening in your sixth house of health, daily routines, your job, your habits, your pets, service, fitness, things like that. So having this conjunction, this could look like if you've been suffering from any sort of illnesses, you may be given an opportunity, or even if you're overweight and you're trying to lose weight, you could be given an opportunity, a breakthrough in how you view that, and start this 14-year process of really transforming and changing the way that you relate to your health. I could see this as being some sort of a belief system that changes the way that you are. And because Jupiter rules your first house, I could see this very much being, for a lot of people, changing the way they physically look. So for example, being overweight, and this conjunction giving you an opportunity and a breakthrough and an innovative mind of abundance to start thinking about ways that you can live a healthier lifestyle, and therefore changing the way that you actually look, the first house. And you could even be, this could be a change in your job. The sixth house is a money house. So you could be getting a new job that pays better, right? You could be driven more towards a service-oriented job than before, or maybe something in the health industry is calling your name, and you're going to be given an opportunity of abundance in that area of your life. Because Pluto is moving through your third house right now, that's transforming a lot of your similar environments. Jupiter also rules your fourth house, and right now Mars and Saturn are in your fourth house. Saturn will be there till 2025. So why do I feel like you're moving? Maybe for a job you're moving, or maybe you're changing your there's something about definitely changing your surroundings. There's a teacher that talks about how the third house is like the goldfish, what does he say? It's like the pot that the goldfish is in. That's kind of what it represents, your siblings, your neighbors. So during this 14-year transit, in the background, Pluto is also going to be in your third house for 20 years. And I definitely feel like up until about 2025, for sure, there's going to be some sort of, either you're feeling really restricted in the house that you're in, you're wanting to grow, you're wanting to move somewhere else, or you're just wanting to get away from your similar surroundings and get some, maybe travel, just not be having the same routines all the time. So please let me know how this resonates for you as Sagittarius, Sun, and Rising. So for Capricorn, Sun, and Rising, this conjunction is actually trine to your sign. So you're not going to feel this as something right in your face. It's kind of just an opportunity that you definitely get to grasp. I mean, everybody's going to feel this. It's happening in your fifth house. So your fifth house of children, romance, creativity, gambling, speculations, your general sense of self and self-expression. And this is a really beautiful house to have this conjunction happening in. I mean, I can see this as you transforming the way, because Pluto is currently going through your second house, so your finances and your values are really changing. And with Jupiter and Uranus conjuncting in this house, I really see that there's something in you that really wants to move towards having more creativity in your life, having more romance in your life. Obviously, children, having more children in your life. This is a very fertile house, so this could be something that brings children into your life. Maybe even if you're not pregnant, just working with children, maybe you have a passion for that. If you already have children, this could be really a beneficial time for them. This whole Jupiter Uranus cycle for 14 years could be a really beneficial time for them. So that's really, really beautiful. I feel like the energy overall in this is that there's going to be more fun and play into your life. The way that you look at dating is changing. The way that you look at your passions and your hobbies is changing. You know, Capricorn sun and rising can definitely be a more serious placement, right? And so you're being given this opportunity, and you know what happens with them is oftentimes because they're ruled by Saturn, they start loosening up over time, right? So they tend to be more serious in the beginning of their life and start loosening up, especially for the rising as they get older. And so if you are a younger Capricorn rising, especially, this could be like really beautiful for you, because it, instead of being so focused and stern and hard all the time, this could really be inviting you into being more creative and playful. And even if you're an older Capricorn rising and sun, this is just giving you more opportunity and abundance in that area of your life. Jupiter rules your 12th and 3rd house. So maybe some of your passions that are changing or you're giving opportunities for are spiritual. And maybe there's a lot of travel happening. Maybe there's something happening in your life, like that this new creative hobby makes you have to travel a lot more. I could see this being like a new job or something, that because it's your creative passion, and you decide to go toward that, and then it requires you to travel a little bit more. So please let me know how that resonates down below for you, for all my Capricorn sun and rising. Aquarius sun and rising, this conjunction is happening in your 4th house of your home. This is your roots, family, your deep foundation. This is also the house of your mother. The 4th house is really the core of our being. So when you have such a beautiful conjunction happening in this house, it's really asking you to heal a lot of maybe like ancestral trauma in your body. On the very practical side of things, this could be definitely moving during this transit, near this transit, redecorating your house, buying your house, changing your living situation, right? Maybe having roommates and then not having roommates. There's definitely something like that happening, but Taurus is square your sign, right? So when we have a square, there generally is some sort of tension and struggle in order to achieve what it's trying to give us, right? Which I don't think is a bad thing, because it encourages growth. And Aquarius, you're ruled by Uranus and Saturn, so you're no stranger to growth and these kind of breakthroughs and innovations and rebellious attitudes, revolutionary attitudes. You may be like doing some shadow work, or maybe seeking a therapist at this time to kind of look at these deep-seated emotional patterns. And a lot of childhood trauma can sit in the 4th house, especially if you've got planets in there, especially if you've got malefics in there. This can be such a healing transit for that, though. Now, when I think about the 4th house, I'm always going to think about the opposite, which is the 10th house. So everything I just mentioned could be leading to some sort of change in your life direction, or some sort of change in your life direction could be leading to everything I just mentioned. Maybe you're moving to a place with more solitude, and you're having to kind of go within, and really work on those parts of you that need love. Another really important thing that's happening at this time is that you have Pluto in your 1st house in Aquarius from 2024 to 2044. So this is huge, you guys. Like, wow. when I think about that, so you've got that in your angular first house, and then you've got this Jupiter Saturn or Jupiter Uranus conjunction in your angular fourth house. So you are changing at your core, and this is a journey, right? Like when Pluto was in Capricorn, I watched Capricorn rising people, the journey that they went on within themselves. They were completely different people. This is really changing how you show up in the world. And then this Jupiter Uranus conjunction is saying, hey, here's an opportunity to help with this transformation that Pluto is asking for, is to get out of a situation that you're unhappy with, a living situation you're unhappy with. Buy a house, move your house, decorate, work on these deep childhood traumas, these ancestral wounds that you have. And it'll be the gateway to so much changing about your life, because the first house is you. It's your being, how you show up in this world. So I see this as, being the next 20 years is going to be really big for the Aquarius and Aquarius rising people. Let me know what resonates down below. Pisces and Pisces rising, what is going on with you guys right now? I asked this because while I was making this video, I had a lot of issues with your guys' part of the video. I think I had to re-record it like 3 or 4 times. And then when I went to edit it, there was no sound on like half of your guys' part, and my microphone had died. And now it's a Mercury retrograde right now. So these things are definitely, going to happen, especially for me as a Gemini. But I just thought it was interesting that I didn't have issues anywhere else but you guys. And immediately I got this sense of that the Pisces need some extra love right now. That's how it felt. And when I thought about why that could be, immediately I was like, dude, they have Saturn in their sign. Mars and Saturn just came together in their sign. Saturn's going to be here till 2026. In all the other videos I said 2025, but it's actually 2026. And yeah, I feel like you guys are maybe having a rough time right now. So I genuinely want to know, if you're a Pisces sun or Pisces rising, how are you doing right now? Like, how are things going in your life? This conjunction that this video is about is the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction in your third house. So here's the thing. If you're a Pisces sun, Pisces rising, that's been going through a tough time right now, know that this conjunction is happening in your third house of your thoughts and communication. So, Pluto moved into your 12th house at the beginning of this year, 2024. That's an interesting placement too, right? Like Pluto, transformation, death and rebirth. And the 12th house is your subconscious, it's your psyche. So there's definitely a lot of heaviness around that right now. And I do think that that's going to be a really beautiful transit for you over time. But at times, of course, it's going to feel difficult. Any Pluto placement is really going to feel that way, but especially when it moves through places like the 4th, 8th, 12th house, even the 6th house. That was really difficult for me when I recently had it. It's going to obviously feel a little bit heavier at times. But this Jupiter-Uranus conjunction is like a breakthrough in an expansion in the way that you think and communicate. If we're talking about just mundane things, this is trips, your routine habits that you driving to work, you're driving here, you're driving there. This is your neighbors, your siblings. It's your immediate surrounding. So this positive conjunction, I think, especially around April and May, and then it's going to start this cycle for 14 years, 13 years to come, is going to help you a little bit, help uplift your spirits a little bit, change the trajectory of your thoughts and how you're communicating in a much more positive way. Now, Uranus has been in your third house since 2018. So, and then Jupiter joined last year in May. So probably especially since last May, you've had more movement in your life. Maybe you have a job now that requires more movement. Maybe it's just that you have more things to do, more errands to run. Errands are really like the sixth house, but the actual doing of them and going from here to here, that can be ruled by your third house. Maybe you've upgraded your car. Maybe there's something that's going to happen soon with this Jupiter Uranus conjunction that has to do with getting a new car or upgrading your car. Now, Jupiter rules your first and your 10th house. So this is about you and your career. So I definitely see you guys moving into a career, some sort of career where there's a lot of movement involved with it. I think that would be really well supported at this time. And as far as yourself, it's like you may just be increasing travel in general because the third house looks at the ninth house. And so maybe long distance travel is something that could be really beneficial for you right now in order to expand your horizons, expand your perspectives, and really help mitigate some of that heaviness that Saturn's bringing to your guys' sign. Um, Neptune's been in Pisces. It's going to be in Pisces until 2026 as well. So I really feel like for Pisces, 2026 is going to feel a lot lighter. I mean, Neptune's been in Pisces for a really long time, and Saturn's been in Pisces since 2023. So, yeah, I just felt like there was a reason that I had to remake this and just really let you guys know that I see you and that if you're feeling down or heavy or needing some extra love, like you're getting that from me. I mean, I'm only talking about you guys today. Like it's all about Pisces today. So I hope this resonates. Please let me know down below which part of this resonates for you and yeah, just how you're feeling. Until next time.